The Shanghai World Expo 2010 was held on both banks of the Huangpu River in the city of Shanghai, China, from May 1st to October 31st. It was a World Expo in the tradition of international fairs and expositions. The theme of the exposition was Better City, Better Life, and signifies Shanghai's new status in the 21st century as the next great world city, and also displays the position of China in the global economy through the hosting of this World Expo.
Shanghai is going to be ground zero of some of the most powerful thinking that is going on currently around the globe.
The theme of the Shanghai Expo focuses on improving urban development and raising the living standards of Shanghai residents. The theme fits the reality of China, which is undergoing urbanization at a fast pace. Consequently, the Expo will give China a precious chance to adopt many standard global practices from other countries. The aim of the Expo is more than just economic development. It is a platform for Chinese and foreign cultures to communicate. It is also a magnificent stage to exhibit the latest technological and cultural achievements of the entire human race.
So, how is the Expo significant in the global economy? It signifies China's emergence in the 21st century and also displays China's prosperity, power, and capabilities in an age of competition for GDP, infrastructure, trade, and technology. Additionally, the Expo was an opportunity for Chinese to visit the world and for countries to promote cultural exchange with China. It also gave many foreign countries an opportunity to attract investments and tourists from mainland China through representations of their countries in their national and corporate pavilions. The Expo also provided great economic benefits to China as it invested in infrastructure and undertook massive projects to get ready for the flow of visitors, which will help contribute to China's GDP. Lastly, the Expo stimulated great interest in technology and environmental consciousness through the displays of the latest technologies in pavilions as people explored the ways in which they could reduce their carbon footprint and advance into the new decade.
China's economic rise over the 3 decades of reform and opening represents by far the most significant event in recent world history. And the staging of the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing and the 2010 Shanghai Expo marks a threshold in international public acknowledgement of this fact. After the exhilaration of the Beijing Games and the awe-inspiring 60th National Day Parade in 2009, the Expo completes the hat trick of China's coming-out parties. The triple show marks more than just the coming of age of an ancient civilization. They serve as markers of history, convenient milestones which later generations will use to denote an era of Chinese prominence, strength, and glory.
The Shanghai Expo had the largest number of countries participating, 192 countries in total, and was the most expensive expo in the history of the world's fairs. Estimates are that around $58.5 billion was spent, almost twice as much as was spent for the Beijing Olympics. The Shanghai World Expo was also the largest World's Fair site ever at 5.28 square kilometers. By the end of the Expo, over 73 million people had visited.
Spectacle has been granted a special place in Chinese culture since the distant dawn of its recorded history, while contemporary architects and designers pursued a sense of the Chinese style through specific construction techniques. Its most significant and influential trait is a commitment to the production of a psychological effect on a massive scale. China's great philosopher of war, Sun Tzu, exemplifies this continuous line of spectacular tradition when he argues that the aim of the general is less to kill than to create an overwhelming impression on the enemy.
Up until the Second World War, in its conclusion, the Shanghai was basically controlled by foreigners, so that many of the achievements of Shanghai and other modern cities in China, especially on the coast, included Chinese people as entrepreneurs, as workers, as artists, as urban residents. But what Shanghai produced often was choreographed and presented by the foreign powers. So the Shanghai Expo underlines the fact that China as a country now can to some degree control the image it presents to the world. And what we see in Shanghai is produced by Shanghai people as a part of the People's Republic. And so it's both a statement of the city's growth and power and also of the country's growth and power.
Besides the extravagant displays of wealth and power, the Expo was also an event where the Chinese could experience the world in one of their own cities and provided them with a window on the different cultures of the world. From traditional dances, foods, songs, handmade products, clothing, technology, architecture, and interactions with outsiders representing their countries at this event, Chinese visitors to the Expo could experience the foreign and the new all within the expanse of the Expo site. Over 20,000 cultural events were held over the 6 months of the Expo. Most of the Chinese visitors to the Expo do not have the means or the opportunity to visit foreign countries, and thus the Shanghai Expo presented to them literally the world in a nutshell. Countries of the European Union, African and Middle Eastern countries, and China's closer Asian neighbors all look to the Shanghai Expo as an opportunity to gain a share of the China market. Most countries have large current account deficits with China and are seeking to reduce these trade imbalances through seeking potential investment and trading opportunities in China. Many countries also benefit by participation in the Expo alone. Korea's participation in the Shanghai Expo means an increase in $3 billion of exports to China, or about 3% of the annual exports to China. With the world's largest population and a rising middle class with a high disposable income, China has the largest number of tourists visiting international destinations worldwide. In 2009, Chinese tourists spent $42 billion abroad, and this number is expected to only keep growing. The hospitality industry was also mostly sustained worldwide in 2009 with the spendings of Chinese tourists, while most countries were facing economic downturns and cut back on travel and shopping. The Shanghai Expo tackled the issue of finding a balance of urban development and environmental conservation by emphasizing the advancement of technology. The technology displayed at the Expo focused on improving daily life while aiding environmental conservation by highlighting two main ideas: developing cooperation between countries to invent more efficient green technology, and understanding the different cultures of the world to reach that cooperation. In an effort to achieve the theme of greening the city and the Expo, Shanghai also completed China's first offshore wind farm. These wind turbines helped power most of the Expo. The Expo also utilized hydrogen cars and other clean energy vehicles, which enabled the park to achieve zero-emission public transportation. The Expo also applied 4G mobile communication technologies and other modern information technology.
Municipal investments in Expo-related road and track transportation, construction, and maintenance alone were budgeted at $14 billion, with a further $4.2 billion devoted to construction and operation of the Expo site. The city completed several projects that improved the city's functioning as a tourism hub and added a low-carbon dimension both to the city's public transportation infrastructure and the exhibition itself. A new terminal was added to the domestic Hongqiao Airport, which is 4 times bigger than the first one.
With the aim of increasing transport efficiency for Expo visitors, fast trains were started from Nanjing and Beijing to Shanghai. The high-speed maglev train service, the world's fastest train service, was also connected to the airport and reduced private car usage and therefore carbon emissions. The city also built new metro lines, roads, parks, and public areas for the event.
Infrastructure is certainly an important legacy of the event. The event will leave Shanghai with an additional 14 billion of roads, subway lines, and airport terminals. The Shanghai Expo is the first expo held by a developing country, the first held in the downtown area of a megacity, and it was held under the shadow of the international financial crisis, which was a severe test to China and Shanghai as well. Although many critics within and outside China have criticized it as being merely an event for China to show off to the world, and would have preferred to see the funds invested in this event put into better use, the Expo has important significance nationally and globally.
It was an event that for many Chinese was the first time that they were able to get a glimpse into the outside world. It It was also an opportunity for Westerners interested in tapping the huge China market. Many alliances were established through the hosting of this event, as the world saw that China was capable of hosting an event previously awarded only to world cities. The infrastructure that followed after Shanghai won the bid to host the expo will also remain with China for decades to come.
The technology and environmental consciousness that was brought about by the expo has impressed upon China and the world how lifestyles can be improved with the implementation of sustainable products and technology. Through the sharing of technologies by various countries and corporate organizations, visitors and participants have realized that the goal of zero carbon emissions is not something that is attainable only in the distant future, nor is it an illusion that cannot be managed without sacrificing a huge amount of financial reserves.
All these characteristics of the Shanghai Expo signal that China is capable of and wants to lead in the global economy. It has displayed its wealth of reserves, its capabilities in hosting a global event, its commitment to better the lives of its people through infrastructure development, and also its abilities to bring forth new technologies that will enhance the lives of not only its own people, but those that look to China as the holder of the key for the path towards sustainable living.